Alex Nichols is a multidisciplinary artist who is interested in the process of language and making. Her poetry works with compression and fragmentation. Her stories create worlds where the reader is confined within a claustrophobic world of the narrator's psyche, always questioning the gaps in perception. Alex's visual work was most recently exhibited at the Modernism West. Alex is currently an artist in residence at the San Francisco Dump, where she is sifting through discarded language in pursuit of a new text. The story she will read tonight is titled Containment. It is my honor to introduce Alex Nichols.
Before the video goes on, I want to say thank you so much to my family for sticking it through with me. And I'd like to say really thank you to Denise Newman, to Daniel, to Miranda, to Matt, to all of the teachers who I've had here who have made a huge difference for me. So thank you so much. And then, I don't know if the video is working. Oh, good. Okay. The building I work in is cement painted white. I enter through a door that brings me into a small chamber with another door. Inside the second door is a room that is small and narrow, with white suits folded and placed on shelves. There are no windows. Straight ahead is a door that leads to the core of the building. This is where I spend my days working. It is September. I have 8 teeth left, 4 upper front, 4 bottom front. I have this dream that keeps reoccurring. I'm standing in the center of an ancient square. In the corner of the square is an old woman washing clothes, white clothes. She's on her knees, bent over the basin, both hands twisting the water out. But it is not water. My wife has been crying a great deal, not in front of me, but I see that the rims of her eyes are red. It started after my 4th molar fell out. Before that, she believed it was merely bad teeth. Maybe I did too. I'm 33 years old. My father is still alive and my grandfather, though they have eaten nothing but dirt all their lives. My wife said she didn't need jam on the table. We should go back to our small town, to our families. Fancy food is not worth so much. What is done is done. I have not gone to the doctor, but I know I am dying. I have been here for 3 years. My title is the controller. I have a serious job, and I have taken it with the utmost sincerity and diligence required. Before this job, I had jobs without titles. I was nothing. You may think I have paid a high price, but my every decision has been carefully weighed. My daughter Petra is well educated. Her hands are smooth, like they have been bathed in warm milk and oil every night. Her hair is dark black and falls to her waist. She reads to me every night, and she is only 12. She reads better than me. My wife and I have decided not to tell Petra about my teeth. I smile carefully so that I only expose the front. I have practiced this in the mirror at night before bed. It is difficult. I feel a bit like a rabbit, the way my lips twitch. My cheeks have sunk without the other teeth, but it gives me a distinguished look. I have taken to giving a closed-mouth grin and a slight nod of my head, and a raise of my brows in greeting with my neighbors. On Sundays, I get up early in the morning and jog 7 miles. I have done this every Sunday for 3 years. My muscles are lean and sinewy. I know my neighbors watch. They watch me carefully, and I show them I am strong and unharmed, and that the food on my table is ample in the slight plumpness of my daughter and wife. I know they whisper in fear. They think I am a walking death. No one has survived this job for more than 2 years, but they were old men, the ones before. I throw a lunch every Sunday afternoon and invite my neighbors. My wife cooks all Saturday, lamb and beef, pickled mango, carrots, and olives. Jam is imported by a plane to a truck, and finally it comes here, only to us. I used to talk quite a bit and laugh a great deal, but not so much now. It is difficult to laugh and not open the mouth. There are rumors in this small town that I think I am too good for everyone. The fancy things have gone to his head, my wife hears them speaking, in the Saturday markets, when she is choosing the meats. He doesn't smile with us. That can't be helped. I see myself as the controller. inside my house, in this town, for what happens to me is what will happen to them. The building I work in is 60 miles away. Contamination cannot be contained within cement walls. This isn't mentioned when the offer for the job is laid out. I was offered more than the old men. I was offered twice the money and twice the rooms in this town. I was, after all, twice as young, and that was worth double. I would not need to be replaced as soon. After 2 years, there was really no sign, nothing significant, other than a loose molar, which I thought was a cavity due to all the jam I was eating. Everyone in town knew me by name, but referred to me by title. "Good morning, Controller." And I would respond, "Good morning, how is your family?" I felt powerful, and sometimes power makes me feel invincible. It is, after all, an easy job. I barely do anything during the day. I work in building 815. What I clean is invisible. I clean rooms and objects believed to have been contaminated, and I scrub them down. When my shift is over, I scrub myself down. How I wash. On the wall of the shower room in a plastic sheet are written the 4 steps. I have added a 5th. I take off the boots, head guard, and suit in a room. The gloves are thrown away every day into a special container that is removed once a week. The clothes I wear inside stay there. 1. Wet skin, apply soap. 2. Work up a good lather, keep wet, and lather for 3 minutes. 3. Rinse with tepid water. 4. Repeat. 5. Clip nails, check nails, necks, and wrist. What I know is I must not grow lazy or sloppy. There is no room for flaws. I am meticulous. I have been hired to be exact. Before this job, I worked with my father. There was a small army station 10 miles away from the village I grew up in. There were only a few men stationed there. My father and I walked there every day. We mopped the floors. We emptied the garbage. They never spoke to us. We came at night and left early in the morning, before they arrived. My father, I love him, but he has no ambition. I cleaned the chairs, began to polish the shiny objects, and wiped down the windows. No door handle had a fingerprint, no teacup a stain. With a single rag and water and soap, desk drawers and walls were rubbed vigorously. I wiped every speck of their existence away each night, to slowly eliminate their presence as they had done with me. It is not enough. My father would say with a brusque sweep of his voice clipping my ear. I would say, it is. We walked home in the early morning light, but I could not hear the birds. My father watched them and called to them in whistles. He loved the walk. That is when I began to run. I ran those miles, and I left him behind. One morning, I was leaving the building with my father. One of the older men said he knew of a job that would pay me well for my meticulous cleaning. He mentioned that I would be cleaning a material that was dangerous, but that I would live like a king. It sounded too good. He told me of a table in a room covered in cloth with plates of food that could be mine, my wife, and my daughters. It was a lot to me. We lived in 2 rooms with my father, my mother, and no cloth on our table, eating always thin soup with potato. Without a glance at my father, I said, yes, how do I apply? I met Samir, Controller 8, when he was 59, an age he never went beyond. God has bargained us, we are his chip. He said this to me. I am not a religious man. He was here to show me my duties, the procedures. I did not see his toenails till the end. They were as thin as paper and opaque. We are measured. That is part of the procedure. We are all the same height. It is a uniformity of convenience. There are only these suits. We wash them, we hem them. The slightest tear is a serious matter. When I began, I was 160 pounds. The weight is standard, and though we each have eaten more in 1 week in this job than we have in a month, we do not gain. The restrictions of confining the contamination include our arrival and departure from the site. No objects from home must come in, and no objects from within must go home. To be safe, there is a 4-mile radius. I must leave my car at the edge of this radius. They gave me this car, and it is shiny maroon color, very expensive looking. I received the code to the building by phone the night before I began. I had already slept 1 week in my new apartment, cotton sheets on our beds, my wife in our room, my daughter in hers. They supplied everything. I had a dining room with a white lace cloth draped over a long table, a window that looked out onto the main street, and a park with grass and flower beds. It was the season of dahlias. My wife and I sat smiling, staring at each other over the steaming food. What had qualified me for this apartment? It was a question I asked myself. The next morning, I rose early. I ate a quick breakfast while my wife and daughter slept, and then drove my new maroon car to the site. There's nothing on this road, and no one, other than the controllers, drives this road. I notice a quietness unusual to forests. No animals, no bird sounds, and the trees at first look burnt. Whatever happened, it happened in the past, but the forest never recovered. I would be lying if I didn't say that the hair on my body stood up, prickled a bit. I parked the car at the first fence, an old white sign with black letters. Nothing beyond this point, except for designated workers. I walked the 4 miles just as the sun rose. There was a faint but clear smell of metal in the air. Samir stood waiting for me, entirely covered in the white suit. I could not see his eyes. He motioned with his body for me to put the suit on. We walked the chambers, and together with a white cloth, a ceramic bucket of water, and soap, we washed the walls, the desks, the floors. He was as thorough as I. There was no dust on these shelves, no dust anywhere. There is a controller's desk and a chart, which I fill. I monitor with a small handheld device like a calculator, but it punches numbers itself that I record and report, reflecting how successful the cleaning has been. In one of the drawers of the desk, I recently discovered a book of entries, words, not numbers, of Controller 1. It contains entries of all my predecessors. It is contaminated, so will never leave Building 815. I have begun making my own entries. I'm Controller 9, certain sensations, certain bodily changes. I have no hair on my toes. Controller 3 lost the hair on his face in May, bled from his pores in the palm of his hand on Tuesday, stopped shaving entirely. I have entered, hair on head intact. Back tooth on the right upper side fell out in December on a Friday. Controller 8 grew tired of washing between the shifts. He grew tired. He called them one day using the white phone and said he was finished. But it took time to find his replacement. Waited 2 months for you. They told me you were young. He said to me, "We are not the same. It happens differently for each. Our deterioration is individual and unique." For 5 days we worked together. He never left the building. He did not remove his helmet. On the 6th morning, the day was warm and the sun was sharp. I walked into the shadowless room with the fluorescent light buzzing. I was surprised to find one of the white shelves lying flat on the ground. I thought it had fallen, but it was too carefully placed. Inside lay Samir, naked. There was no hair on his body. His skin was pale, the color of white paper. His eyes staring at me, blue like the sky. His toenails like skin themselves. Written in ink on his chest was the map to the hole behind the building where I was to bury him, a hole he had already dug, a hole I would fill in. Procedure written down his left leg, containment written down his right. The procedure: I buried Controller 8, and Controller 10 will bury me. Each object we clean is scanned, its numbers reported. There is a day when my skin will absorb a number too high, and I will not be able to leave the building. I will not go home to my wife. I will not die in my bed in her arms with steaming pork on my table. I am thorough in my washing and have lasted longer than any controller before me. The containment of information is essential. This is a closed system. When my numbers reach too high, a buzzer will go off and the door will lock down. That's it.